Take to the city of Mississauga now. That is where that municipality is reconsidering its prohibition on legal pot shops. CTV Toronto's John Musselman joins us live now for more on what happened at City Council today. John.
Well, it's not official yet, but it appears next week Council will vote to opt back into cannabis stores here in Mississauga. And as you mentioned, 4 years ago, they opted out. They were worried about clustering too many stores on one block. That was one of the mayor's biggest concern. But why they seem to be reconsidering is the fact that a lot of illegal operations have sprung up across Mississauga. And the theory here is if they can bring in some legal operators, it will squeeze out the illegal ones. And the other concern is they want an industry that's regulated and safe, and that's why they want to bring in these legal cannabis stores that they think will work here. It's even got the support of the mayor who said today, Mayor Bonnie Crombie, that, look, we can't keep supporting the black market, so to speak, on the cannabis stores. Let's get the legal ones in here. Again, it's not official yet. There will be deputations here next Wednesday night at City Council. People will get a chance to voice their concerns or their support either way. And then it's likely Council will vote next Wednesday, and that's when we'll find out whether or not Mississauga will allow cannabis stores in this city.
Right. And John, I just wonder if you heard anything, any kind of reaction from families, neighborhood groups who had concerns about this today?
Well, we did go out to the city of Mississauga. Most people we talked to seem to support the idea. The theory being, look, there are legal stores in Brampton right next door, legal stores in Toronto. Why should we be not? It's a legal product. That's what they're saying. Why shouldn't we have access to that product? Now, of course, there were some councillors concerned about, zoning issues and how many stores would go in where and how close they would be to certain locations. But as one councillor here said, we don't really have a lot of control over those issues. If they get a license, if it's legal, they have a right to operate a business.
All right, that is CTV Toronto's John Musselman reporting live tonight from Mississauga. Thanks so much, John. And for more on why Mississauga should get on board with legal pot shops, we're now joined by Omar Khan, Chief Communications and Public Affairs Officer for High Tide Inc., which owns 151 cannabis stores across the country. Omar, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure, and happy Raptors Day.
Happy Raptors Day. Okay, let's talk about this. I know that you've been pretty vocal about this for a couple of years now. What is your perspective? Why are you in favor of these legal pot shops?
So to me and many others, the choice is clear for Mississauga's council. It's a choice. It's not a choice about whether or not people are going to consume cannabis. People are consuming cannabis in Mississauga. Right now, the vast majority of them are consuming it or purchasing it through illicit means. And that's something that I pointed out to council today. I showed them 3 examples of illicit market products that are currently available for delivery or in-store shopping in Mississauga. 2 of them are clearly targeting kids. So one is, made to look like a bag of Ruffles chips, and there's no indication that it actually contains THC, which is a psychoactive component of cannabis. Another one is called Gob Stoppers. Some of you who might be of my vintage might remember the Gobstoppers candy that we all used to, enjoy as kids. And same thing, it's not in childproof packaging, no indication that it's actually containing THC. So extremely, extremely dangerous. And the third example I showed them was an illicit market edible product that's currently available in Mississauga that is advertising 900 milligrams of THC per unit, per package. The federal legal limit for THC on edibles in Canada is 10 milligrams per unit. So that is 90 times more than is legally allowed. So the choice between Mississauga's council, the choice before Mississauga's council next week will be, do we want to protect kids? Do we want to ensure that a legal market is able to move into Mississauga to push out these illegal operators, these people who are engaging in criminal activity, endangering our kids? They're not checking ID at the doors. They're not selling products that are tested and licensed by Health Canada. It's a choice between letting adults consume legal, tested, and safe products versus, the status quo, which
Right.
is really the wild, wild west.
I'm going to run out of time pretty quickly, so I'm hoping to get two questions in with you.
Yeah.
But I want to know what your thoughts are on how things have gone in a city like Toronto, opted in obviously 4 years ago. And some people do ask the question, I mean, are there too many pot shops in the city? And of course, clusters, that's an issue. You're sometimes seeing a cluster of about 5 to 10 pot shops in 1 or 2 blocks. What do you say to that, Omar?
So first, let me address the illicit market in Toronto. So since legalization, this is in the staff report that was actually prepared by the city staff in Mississauga. It was presented to council today, and it was accepted by the majority of council. Their own numbers show that since legalization, the number of illegal dispensaries in Toronto has gone from 112 to like 6 right now. So that in and of itself is clear evidence that access to legal stores works in terms of pushing out the illicit market. Look, there was a bit of a gold rush early on back in 2018 when legalization first came into force. There were a lot of people rushing to try and line up what they thought were prime locations. And that did result in some over-concentration, particularly in certain neighborhoods in some of the larger cities, particularly Toronto. That has started to right-size itself. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario right now has an online portal where anyone who's looking to set up a cannabis store can see who else has applied for a license in that same area. So that's a very good tool right now that's available that will limit this issue, that has already begun to limit this issue of clustering, will continue to limit and mitigate it moving forward.
Okay, I've got maybe about 20, 30 seconds left here, but we are hearing from Mississauga's Mayor Bonnie Crombie. She says she supports this move. She hopes the city will opt in. And she does write on Twitter that while I do wish cities had more control over licensing, like the proximity and volume of locations, along with sharing a portion of the provincial excise tax, the province has made it clear that no further changes will be made to how cannabis shops are regulated. That's going to come up. There it is. What do you say to that? Do municipalities need more control? What can be done about that?
So, earlier on, we were supportive of reasonable distance limits between stores. I think the horse has kind of left the barn on that. We are over 4 years into legalization. But look, overall, legalization has worked, and it's worked to protect public safety and public health. StatsCan, 2 years after legalization, published data that showed that consumption amongst 17 to 19-year-olds was cut in half. Health Canada, just this past December, released data that showed that in the 17 to 19-year-old age group, there was no change in cannabis consumption levels since legalization. So this notion that more stores are going to lead to kids consuming, it's really not borne out by any facts.
Okay, we'll have to see what happens next week. Omar Khan, thanks so much for your perspective on this.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.